So now I'm working on my artwork for a show, and I'm using these Sharpie creative markers as I was in the previous video. Now with the larger area here, I can really give them a test drive, you might say. Just see how quickly to be fair, we always want to give a paint marker a bit of a shake up before we use it. Get the ink or paint going in the reservoir there, but really liking these Sharpie creative markers, and it's like I'm using a lot of different types of ink and paint. Brushed paint as well as marker paint on these artworks, so stay tuned to my social media channels for info about this art show, which is going to be officially shown in September of 2024. But I am working on a large amount of artwork there, so these markers will be a great tool to add to my set of tools for doing this. Nice color there. And I have, as you can see, I have these canvases of different colors and shapes to make things interesting for myself and for others. I'm going beyond the usual square and rectangular frames for something very different for this art show, so hope that you will like it. Let these dry a bit. Paint markers are one of the fastest drying forms of paint that you can get, so really they are great for spontaneous art explorations. It's like usually they will be dry enough within minutes for you to be able to put another layer over it, and obviously in a few hours they're totally dry. But yeah, it is so fun to just spontaneously do art anywhere, and I often just bring out my markers when I'm hanging out with my friends, and we might have fun and draw something together, do a visual charade type of game or something. Not really charades, but just different people keep adding lines to the picture until it becomes something very unexpected after a while. And you don't even know where it's going to end up when you start, but that's the fun of it, is that these other people are drawing lines in there that you wouldn't necessarily think of putting in there, but then you build more from what they're adding. So here is yellow, and I haven't used the yellow yet in this set. Give this a little shake, stir up the That is a bright yellow. Of course, yellow, this is one of my interesting art philosophy moments, is the discussion of the yellow marker, which looks so bright if you put it with a dark background or colors around it. It really stands out. And yet, if you put it on white paper, it almost disappears. It's almost transparent. So for years, because they would always give me white paper, just like you have in schools, or is commonly available, white paper is the standard, I would think of the yellow marker as almost worthless, and I wouldn't use them up. But then I really became interested not only in the yellow for a bright marker, but I started using the yellow to plot out my designs earlier, before I did anything. I wasn't actually intending on putting the yellow with the green here, so I made a little error, but that's okay. Now that we're going to continue that. Yellow looks nice on the, that's a pretty rich yellow. That's not going to get lost among other colors, so good to know that. Good to know that. Now here, the yellow going over the green, that is a little bit, okay, so put a few more lines of that over, and then the opacity is increased there, but interesting. We know that these are not absolutely opaque. Almost no paint is absolutely opaque, unless you get it thick enough. Here is an imperfection in the canvas or something, but instead of leaving that there, I'm going to cover that up with a line. Why not? And then I'm going to use the imperfection as part of my just abstract artwork, and we'll make this into something later on. I'm just testing out these Sharpie creative markers and enjoying using the sideways line stroke there, and here is the narrow tip line there. Very good that you can get that much variation from one marker. That is why I love to buy brush markers now, is I know that I can, if I carry a brush marker, I have thick or thin available right at my fingertips, right? Thick or thin, it's right there. Add some orange to this situation. They look great together. The yellow and orange reinforcing their warm color presence. So what happens for me to fill in an area entirely? Works well. I overstepped the boundary there just a little bit, and then there, that is fixed. And then I can put a dark color over there. That becomes an eye or something. There's a little spiral. Spirals are very relaxing to draw, wouldn't you say? It's one of the most meditative shapes, because a spiral starts as a just widely curving line, almost straight, but then it slowly curves more and more and more and more, and it eventually goes down, and it's like a representation of infinity. And it could be another example of infinity, that if you had an infinitely small brush tip, you could make an infinitely small spiral. You could keep going down. Of course, I guess in reality, we are in shall we say, non-idealistic reality. In materialistic reality, we have to remember that eventually you can't make a spiral any smaller, because you're down to the molecules and atoms of paint. So you can't spiral it in there any smaller. Unless then you start talking about some other strange particles or waves or something. Who would have thought we'd get on that tangent in an art video? But why not? Cover a little bit of everything. That's good. You can see the yellow is having a little bit of a problem covering over that darker orange, but just if we like that, reinforce the lines with a few more layers. And if you want to use that transparency effect, just remember that's available to you. So you could use a blend of lines to use two overlapping color lines to create the impression of a third color. Or really, it is a third color between the two, because they're slightly mixing. So, how nice. Continue these designs, and I'll pick up the, let's see, yes, this is the black, even though the cap is sort of a gray, but this is the darkest black available in this set, and that is very dark. Look at that. And it is also possible that the black looks extra dark because it's with these bold, bright colors also. That may be, once again, the contrast effect of these seeming opposites, really emphasizing the presence of each other. This is what I usually do in my artwork or graphic designs, is I will tend to have black and white, and then I will have one or maybe two other colors, but usually not too many colors on one image, just because it becomes a little bit uncentered after that point. It's good to have a center, and then also in the case of this art show, I'm doing a variety of different color patterns on the pieces. So I may want to have a partial or a full rainbow of color on the different pieces, but I might use those different colors to relate to the mood or the subject of the work. And so choose my color usage carefully, because different color palettes, as well as being associated with particular cultural memories or something like that. It's like you see pink and purple, and you sort of think of the 80s or whatever those colors were really popular in that time are the 60s tie-dye, sort of morphing rainbows made of dye, or different time periods associated with different types of color. And now the 90s, a weird sort of bright pastel colors, those greens and purples and oranges that, anyway, different colors come into and out of fashion over time. So, but beyond those cultural and time associations, you have just the mood that certain colors bring to you. Like the warm colors are maybe excitement, or and the red may be excitement or even a sense of danger that appears there. Whereas the cool colors, the blues and greens, may be more relaxing, and I've heard the theory that one of the reasons we like green, that we find green relaxing, is that our ancestors, the apes, arboreal